Now know who's replacing Woj over at ESPN as their new senior NBA insider? Shams Charania has finalized the deal, and he's taken his talents to Bristol.
I told him is what I would say today, that I hope he has as fulfilling and as rewarding of a career as I've had.
To say things have been turbulent for ESPN over the past month would be a huge understatement, but they finally made their big move and pretty much showed us who the future face of inside information is going to be. And luckily for us, it's someone we're very familiar with. So before we get to the content, we are 2,000 subscribers away from hitting 1 million subscribers. So make sure to check to see if you're subscribed and have our notifications so you can help us hit that milestone. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. We made over $500 this past weekend by playing Prize Picks. I posted both of my picks before Sunday and Monday Night Football on my Instagram story at TheFlightMike. If you aren't signed up for Prize Picks, use my promo code microphone to get a free $50 when you place an entry of $5 or more. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? In our last video on ESPN, we discussed how much the network has evolved over the past 3 decades. In the 90s, if you wanted to get any type of news about any sport at all whatsoever, you had no choice but to go to ESPN. This was before Twitter was a thing. This was before YouTube was a thing. So if you wanted to find out about any crazy moves that were going on in the world of sports, or if you just wanted to catch sports highlights, you would watch ESPN. Fortunately, ESPN had a broad spectrum of entertainment available, and they had some incredible personalities delivering the entertainment to you, whether it was Chris Berman delivering NFL news, the insightfulness of Dan Patrick, or the entertaining personality of Stuart Scott. As time evolved, ESPN took on new forms of content, eventually venturing into the hot take era, where you could turn on ESPN and still get the same insightful analysis as you got before, but you would also find different types of content that cater to different types of viewers. I said this many times in the past, I found First Take to be very entertaining. I mean, you could turn on ESPN and get insightful analysis, or you could turn on ESPN and watch Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith yelling about the greatness of LeBron James.
Johnny Manziel will become even bigger in the city of Cleveland than his buddy and business partner LeBron James ever was.
Or you could watch Skip Bayless overly gas Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow's
a bigger draw than Kobe Bryant is right now.
Kobe Bryant?
He's a bigger draw than Kobe Bryant.
Really, there was a broad spectrum of entertainment available to the common viewer at this time. As time went on, although ESPN seemed to double down on hot take culture, they also brought insightful analysts onto their program. For every Kendrick Perkins and Chris Mad Dog Russo, there was also a JJ Redick or Adrian Wojnarowski, individuals that would bring something fresh to the table. I mean, I think we all really enjoyed when JJ Redick completely roasted Stephen A. Smith on national TV.
I don't know whether to believe that you believe what you're saying.
I do believe
that's crazy.
Well, it's not crazy.
Or JJ Redick calling out his former teammate Zion Williamson for not texting CJ McCollum when CJ McCollum was traded to the Pelicans.
This is a pattern of behavior with Zion that we are seeing again and again. And look, I was his teammate. I can describe him as a detached teammate.
Ultimately, ESPN took some risks that really paid off, and probably their biggest risk that did pay off was in the form of Woj. A lot of people don't remember this, but back in 2016, Woj was just a guy that you would see on Twitter behind a computer screen. He didn't have a podcast, and he wasn't an on-air personality, but ESPN decided to make him one, taking the #1 insider in all of basketball to bring his information to us in front of a national TV audience, despite never being on TV before. It was a little awkward at first, but eventually Woj got comfortable, and fans absolutely loved the fact that the #1 individual that they were getting all of their breaking basketball news from was doing it on air in front of a national televised audience. It paid off wonderfully for Woj as well, because he went from an individual that basketball purists knew of just primarily through Twitter, all the way to an individual that was a national icon in regards to everything that comes to basketball. And of course, he blocked me on X for some reason. I still don't know why. But the thing about being an insider in the NBA is it's just simply not a sustainable lifestyle. We've seen Shams' phone during the free agency period in the past, so it was only a matter of time before one would question how long could Woj do this for? I mean, how long could you spend 18 hours a day on your phone trying to figure out the latest and greatest NBA news, trying to be the first one to break the NBA news before your former protege breaks it before you? It was only a matter of time before Woj had to make the decision to step down, not only because it's a lot of work on a guy that's in his mid-50s, but also because he has the opportunity to pursue something new. So when the opportunity came for him to pursue a general manager role at St. Bonaventure, his alma mater, which is a brand new role in college basketball, it was too much for Woj to pass up. And I honestly thought this was a great move for Woj. I mean, an individual that has this type of inside information in the NBA, moving on to a general manager role was just a home run for him. But then there was a question of what was to become of ESPN. Because on one hand, you're losing JJ Redick so he could coach the Los Angeles Lakers. You're losing Adrian Wojnarowski so he could become the general manager at St. Bonaventure. And then a move that I personally didn't enjoy at all whatsoever is the fact that ESPN decided to move on from Zach Lowe, who's making about the same amount of money as Kendrick Perkins was, only Zach Lowe gives us insightful information on breaking NBA trades or trades that are about to happen. He's probably my most credible source whenever it comes to rumors, but instead you're retaining this.
The criteria for the MVP and how the goalposts move, it's only 3 guys that won the MVP that wasn't top 10 in scoring. What do those guys have in common? I'll let it sit there and marinate. You think about it.
And personally, when ESPN decided to retain one over the other, especially once they let Woj go, I thought it was very indicative of what the future was looking like at ESPN. On top of that, ESPN's top star also wants a huge contract extension because he thinks he's better than Dak Prescott.
I'm not getting specific as it pertains to numbers because only a fool discusses his own negotiations while negotiating. I would ask respectfully, pay attention to the industry, see what people are getting paid, see how much money they're making and what they're bringing to the table. Dak Prescott just signed a contract for $240 million. He's making $60 million a year. He made sure to get...
I know, he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
Who has won 2 playoff games in 8 years. I've been number 1 for 12. I'm sorry, in our respective industries, I win. And I'm fully aware of what I'm worth, and I will never apologize to that for anybody.
So there's a huge question at ESPN. There was not a huge question amongst fans. Fans already knew who was going to give them their NBA information. I mean, we saw it during the Karl Anthony Towns trade a couple of weeks ago. There's only one individual that was breaking all the information in regards to this trade, and it was Shams. There was really nobody else but Shams at this point, which gave Shams all the leverage in the world in order to make the jump from FanDuel to ESPN. So today, it was made official. According to Shams himself, which I always love whenever individuals break news about themselves, I am honored to join ESPN as the company's senior NBA insider. I can't wait to be part of an incredible group of colleagues at ESPN and serve the sports audience worldwide. Personally, I'm a huge fan of this. One, because, well, I don't need to use a burner account anymore to get NBA news from Woj, which drove me insane. It was destroying my burner account's feed, which I primarily used for other information that didn't pertain to basketball. But my selfish motivations aside, I personally found Shams to be a little bit more charismatic than Woj. And it's not because he gave us gems like this.
This is Shams' phone, everybody.
This is a crime that's being committed.
Listen, you were not playing man coverage on your phone. Welcome to, you want to talk a little NFL? Is this where all the secrets are?
Yeah.
Can we just get a close-up of Shams and how nervous he is that I have the cell phone?
But I personally think he's one of the hardest working young men in sports. He's said multiple times in the past that he doesn't think he's going to be capable of having a family because of his dedication to his career, which I think is a crazy thing to say, but it just shows you his commitment to his craft, and I could always respect an individual that is that committed to his craft.
Shams texted me after I announced my retirement, and what I told him is what I would say today, that I hope he has as fulfilling and as rewarding of a career as I've had, and I certainly wish that that for him. And he's right about the incredible group of colleagues that he's going to find at ESPN, the best of the best, incredible reporters, on-air talent. And so, for me, that was always the best part of working at ESPN, were the colleagues who elevate you. You're around the best of the best. And that was true on the NBA. And then that was true being around Schefter and Thamel and Passett and those guys. So wish him the best. And he's got a great team around him at ESPN. I miss those guys already, but I'm still talking to those guys a lot.
I still have some reservations over the fact that ESPN decided to let go of Zach Lowe, although I think Zach Lowe is going to do just fine. But in all honesty, this was an obvious step forward for ESPN. And a part of me wonders how much the contract is going to be. I also felt like his fit was perfect. I mean, even during the time where Pat McAfee had his show, he would have Shams on air over Woj, which only gives you an idea over his preference on which insider, because Woj was contracted by ESPN at the time. Shams was contracted by FanDuel. And even Pat McAfee had to say this about the hiring.
Shams Charania has officially signed with ESPN to be the senior NBA insider. Hell yeah, Shams. Incredibly proud of Shams Charania. And I'm happy they were able to get a deal done. Woj, incredible commitment to the game and to ESPN and to the NBA for a long time. But ESPN won today.
Let me know in the comment section down below, how do you guys feel about this new hiring? How do you feel about the direction of ESPN now? I personally felt like this was a very obvious addition, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.